First, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I know we're excited to have you here. This program is always a lot of fun for us, and we hope it'll be fun for you as well. I think last year was the first time we did a Q&A session, a week prior before the program, and we had a lot of positive feedback, so we decided to do it again this year. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and give everyone a quick introduction about myself, the program, and sort of our expectations for you as participants. And then what I'm going to do is have a couple of other of the members of the Scipreneur team do the same thing, and then we'll open up for questions for anyone who might have them. So for those who don't know me, my name is Ryan Hughes, and I'm the director of Memphis Scipreneur. I was also the director of the program last year, and I've been involved with the program going on 4 years now. I originally got started as a participant, and I really got so much out of the program that I felt compelled year after year to still be part of the program and give back in any way that I can. And now we're in the 6th year of the program. So really, I've been involved with the program for about 2/3 of its existence. And as such, I've experienced the program from the viewpoint of both as a participant and an organizer. And I've seen just how valuable this program can be, especially for those from a science technical background, who have aspirations about getting into entrepreneurship, or just want to learn more about entrepreneurship and other career path opportunities. Because I think this program, it does a really good job introducing you to people in the Memphis community from a wide range of backgrounds and career paths. So networking and learning from them is a great opportunity and really an invaluable experience. However, this program is going to be a little different than years past, because now we've combined all of the different Tennessee Scipreneur chapters into one big program. And I know, I'm super stoked. I think everyone else in the team is super stoked to be able to do this and get the buy-in and support from not only BioTN, but also all of the major academic institutions across the state. And as such, you can imagine this program is going to be virtual, although there may be some opportunity to have the final event in person or some sort of hybrid virtual event. But even though we're going to be doing this program virtually, I still believe we've put together our most comprehensive and actionable program to date. And I'm super excited for everyone to participate. I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun. So before I turned over to Erica to give her quick introduction, I do want to mention, despite what I'm wearing, this environment is completely casual. If we were meeting in person, we'd have catered food, adult beverages, and just to prove that, I have my adult beverage here. So please don't feel like you can't do the same during these meetings. Feel free to eat, drink, continue to be in lab if you're in lab, wear your pajamas, I don't care, whatever you feel comfortable doing, because we want you here, we want you relaxed, and most importantly, we really want you to learn and have fun. So with that being said, we do expect you to actively participate week in and week out. There are a lot of people, I think faculty members especially, who have donated their time to be part of this program. So please respect that by giving us your attention every week. And remember, at the end of this program, it's a competition. Where the top 3 teams win money, with each person on that team winning up to $500 cash. So it's been my experience that the teams that win are the ones that put in the time and apply what they learned during the course of the program. So with that being said, again, thank you all for being here. We're incredibly excited, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Erica.
All right, I am going to share my screen here in a sec, if I can get things moving along here. All right, you guys showing up? Awesome. All right. So like Ryan said, my name is Erica. I am the past president of the Memphis chapter for BioTN Academic Alliance, kind of current president-ish until we have our new guys come into the chapter. But I had the pleasure of working with Ryan and the team from CBU last year during our first time all working together with that partnership, and had a blast. You guys are really going to enjoy this program. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background of Biotin just in general as an organization, the Academic Alliance, and what we do for our members. Let's see. Okay. So briefly, the mission of Academic Alliance is to really encourage Tennessee's economic and workforce development in the life sciences and biotechnology by providing graduate students and postdoc fellows an avenue for engagement with our statewide industry. And we do this by providing specific events and programs that are aimed at our core values, which are networking, career development, expansion of skills and knowledge, and idea sharing. There are currently 3 chapters statewide, here in Memphis, obviously. We also have a chapter in Nashville and Knoxville, all with members from each of their respective local institutions, including St. Jude, U of M, UT Health Science Center here in the city, Vanderbilt and Nashville, and UT Knoxville. So we hope to continue broadening our reach to include members at all of the local institutions in the city, hopefully including CBU, Rhodes, Des Moines, Owen, Southwest. We really want to be able to represent all of our organizations here. So, let's see. Oh, my TV just came on, guys. 1 second. Wait a
She said her TV spontaneously came on in the background. So Erica might be dealing with.
I'm so serious. Like all of a sudden my TV just started. I was like, that's going to be definitely
have a little poltergeist situation going on. All right, Erica, go ahead.
Hilarious. Okay. So like I said, there's a number of ways our members can engage with their local chapter through activities centered around 5 key areas, which include networking, career development, public policy, advocacy, outreach, and mentorship and entrepreneurship. And a few examples of that include our past events such as Beers and Careers, which is our monthly networking event. Last August, we had the pleasure of having Dr. Michael Witt join us for a special discussion from UT Health Science Center. And he walked us through his path to a career as Associate Dean for Medical Education, and how he was able to pivot his research during the pandemic to address the current need for understanding immune responses in people who have had COVID compared to those who had been vaccinated. So following the Scipreneur Challenge, we hope to get these events geared back up, hopefully for in-person or at least for our hybrid format. Our second resume workshop this past year was a wonderful success. We were lucky to have resume experts who joined us from local institutions, including our very own member from the Memphis chapter, Laura Hamel, who is from St. Jude, as well as Dr. Ashley Brady, who is from Vanderbilt, to assist us with reviewing resumes in preparation for the second annual biotech job fair, which we also had last year. And as with the previous year, we had a wonderful turnout with participants from all of the chapters, Memphis, Knoxville, and Nashville, who are able to submit their resumes and receive one-on-one meetings with hiring reps from top companies in the state, such as Cognate and Smith & Nephew, just to name a few. So we hope to be able to offer these events for our members this year as well. And if you haven't done so already, we do encourage you to register for membership. It is absolutely free. And you can find more information at our website, or you can reach out to us individually through the emails that are provided. So without further ado, I'm going to swing it back over to Ryan and figure out what's going on with my television.
We all want to know.
Right. So. Well, go ahead, Brian. So I'll go ahead and introduce Brian Behringer. Even though I'm the director of Scipreneur, I think him and Shelby really do most of the heavy lifting around here. And so he's going to be the one really teaching the program, engaging with you all throughout the next 10 weeks. So again, without further ado, Brian, take it over.
I don't know about that heavy lifting. I think the team, I mean, we recruited Rohan from last year to help us with the lift. So, you know, it's a group effort, and I really am happy to be a part of the organization. I'm very happy to see that we have expanded what we've done in Memphis last year and the years before to the statewide level. I think this is going to be a lot of cross-pollination and collaboration that's really everyone's going to enjoy. This process is about tech transfer and commercialization. We are here to help kind of figure out ways to bring intellectual property from a variety of sourcing entities across the state to a point where it could actually be a viable product in the market. Now, are we going to launch products and companies directly out of this program over the next 10 weeks? No, that's like impossible. But do we have the ability to get you to a point where we can assess the viability of launching that thing into a commercial space? Yes. Can we then carry it on from there, look into a variety of avenues for both support through funding and other programs like the National Science Foundation, National Institute of Health, or whatever the IP aligns with best, and also along the lines of what other funding opportunities we have to help commercialize these products. So, you know, one thing I wanted to make sure we understand is that our two focuses are to first educate you on how to be an entrepreneur and how to take your intellectual property that you're working on and move that into a commercially viable space. And then as a stretch goal, we really want to make this as a serious component of the process for each one of your organizations and your entities that you represent. So once we finish this product or finish this program, I really want everyone to keep considering or keep in consideration the ability to take it further. And that's our stretch goal for this. So first is education, second is actually launch. And I think that's where we really want to be. And hopefully everybody's kind of here along those lines. We're here to answer any questions. Today, I'm going to go through the program schedule and a few of the tools that we're going to utilize through this process, talk to you about some of our guest speakers, and just generally kind of set up the stage for what we'll be all doing for the next 10 weeks. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen. Get to the right one. It's always a guess. Okay, so somebody give me a thumbs up. They see my browser. Perfect. All right, so what we have here, and let me get my screen going so I can see y'all's faces and make sure. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is what we're gonna be doing over the next 10 weeks. This week is week 0. This is our just kind of Q&A session. As I said, we'll go through the program a little bit step by step here. It won't take too long. Go over the calendar at the same time, and then talk about a few tools we have in our toolkit for you to utilize. We'll start off fairly basic. You know, first thing we have to do is get together and start working. The first thing we're going to do is actually go through all the IP. So we'll go through every piece of IP that we have. Ryan will help direct all that to let everyone understand what the IP areas that we'll be working on for this program over this next 10 weeks or the 9 weeks from that point. We'll submit choices on what programs or what IP you would like to work on. We'll do a few icebreakers to kind of break up the time to allow the team to go back and collate and coalesce all those choices into a variety of teams. We're hoping to have 4 or 5 pieces of intellectual property that we're actively working on with 3 to 4 members of each team. So hopefully with this and the work we'll be doing next week to recruit some more people, you know, we'll have those teams and each one will not be a team of 1, right? You'll have a team of 2 or 3 individuals, and hopefully everyone will be able to work on the IP that they chose either first or second by preference. So next week is all about kind of going through the IP, understanding that and choosing our teams and understanding the process a little bit more with a few little fun icebreakers to go along with that. After that, we're going to jump right into the actual curriculum part of the program. We'll spend a little time just talking about Entrepreneurship 101, the very basics of the entire program. We'll go into design thinking, which is a method of understanding that anyone can be creative. It's actually fairly straightforward to teach a process that allows people to think creatively. It doesn't mean that you can draw in your natural, you know, at it. You can paint the Mona Lisa, but I guarantee you with time and mastery and all these things we know, becoming creative by thinking about it as a process will allow you to kind of help you through this entire process. We'll go through the idea discovery canvas, which is one of our tools that we use that I'm going to show you here in a minute. Then we'll start going into problem framing, understanding what the problem is and kind of putting that into terms that we can easily understand and digest. Probably one of the most critical first steps in this whole process is to understand and frame a proper problem. In order to do that, and what you take from there is where you start identifying your customer segmentations. That's what we'll go into week 3, and directly into solution framing as well. So based on what our problem is, we'll do some customer discovery exercises. We'll give you a little bit of homework to do that from week to week, from the week 3 to week 4, and we'll talk about how to frame out that solution. We'll also talk about another component of our initiative here, which is an elevator pitch video. It's going to be a 60-second video that between week 3 and the finals, we'll have a submission for those. So you'll have several weeks to work on those, but we are going to have a video component to go along with this to be your elevator pitch for your product. It will help us with the content that we need for the final event, but it also is just a great exercise in understanding what an elevator pitch is and how to put one together. And we aren't going to have many constraints about that. You can make it funny, you can make it serious. We like to see creativity, and that's why we kind of teach that process first, in order for you to think creatively when you're actually building out some of this content. In week 4, we'll have our first guest speakers. MRC Global is who we utilize for our regulatory conversation. So we'll talk about the FDA 510K process and a variety of things that go with that, the classes 1, 2, and 3, and where you may fall, and what are the expectations of each of those, how long the timeline is, and what your expectations are if you are truly a class 1, which is the longest process in the 510K process. And we'll talk about those, and we'll start working on where those regulatory understandings and considerations need to be taking place. Go into our customer and solution homework, and then value proposition, our second most important segment area other than problem, solution, and customer, is understanding the benefits that your customers are going to get from utilizing your product. So that's where we talk about intellectual value proposition. And then we'll also discuss intellectual property protection and the variety of layers that are involved in that kind of IP protection, both from a patent, but also trademarks, copyrights, and a variety of other things. And we'll also talk about the ultimate protection, which is just execution, about actually executing on a business plan and being the best in the market. That's always one of the most solid forms of protection, is just being best of class. Week 5, we'll come in and have another guest speaker to talk about finances and economics. Everyone in this organization, everyone in these programs should have a basic understanding of how startup finances and economics work. We're not going to go into great detail and put a lot of spreadsheets together for this process, because we just don't have the time. But it is certainly something that we want to give you exposure for what you need in the long term. Also go into channels and go to market, and then corporate formation, what type of businesses you need to be, and then how to actually get to market with your product. So we'll cover that as well. Corporate funding, we'll have our third guest speaker, Jan Booten, who is one of our VC leaders here in town, venture capitalist leaders in town. He'll come in and talk a little bit about corporate funding and a little bit about the importance of the pitch. We'll segue into our pitch process at this point in week 6 and go over the pitch deck even in greater detail than we do, and a little bit of awareness early on in the program, as well as what I'm going to show you tonight. And we'll start doing some other things and actually have you submit your elevator pitch videos in week 6 as well. We'll spend a couple weeks doing practice on pitches, because we want to make sure that your decks and all the content that's in there that we've created through the first 5 and 6 weeks is best represented in that deck, so you can really punch through the pitch and the presentation for our final event and give your team the best likelihood of success in winning out all the fun things and prizes that the winners get out of this program. We'll also have Dr. Isaac Rodriguez come in during that process. He has gone through the 510K process, a rather lengthy 3-year version of it, where he implemented a few products in that space. And it was a great experience for someone. He came out of the University of Memphis. He started the company with his sister. It's an amazing story. I never get tired of hearing it or being in front of Isaac and Kayla. They're the most 2 enthusiastic people I know, other than Ryan. And so it's great to be around those 2 and really hearing their success story with sweet bio. And we'll talk more about that as well. In week 9, this is when things get serious. We're going to do a full pitch practice, full rehearsal. We're going to go through the entire thing. This will be an in-person kind of thing. Hopefully, we'll do most of these other things through virtual, but this and the final pitch, we're hoping to push this into the real world space, someplace that we haven't really been in as a community at large in a couple of years. And if anybody can actually remember what happened in 2020, please let me know. But certainly in last year in 2021, heading into 2022, we really want to see through this and get back into the same space. And we'd love for our final pitch event to be in person. And I think that's where we're going to be heading to. But if not, we know how to pivot into a virtual space. We did it last year. It was a good success. So we'll pivot if we need to. And so that's when we'll do that on week 10, Thursday, April 21st will be our final pitch. At that pitch, we will have several panelists that will be our judges. They'll give you feedback. You'll have a certain number of minutes to actually do the presentation, and then a certain number of minutes of Q&A, and then they'll get together and pick the winners from that. So, and it's a fantastic situation. We had a lot of fun last year doing that. Okay, so that's the overall program. One thing to let you know that as part of the program, we'll have a Google Docs or a Google Drive folder where everyone will have all their material. Each one will have a folder. We'll have all of our, some of the other things to talk about is like every one of our sessions are recorded. So all of those will be on YouTube, Facebook, as well as in our Google Drive. So you'll be able to get to those rather easily. All the material, the actual decks that I utilize to walk through all of the information will be there as well. So not only do you have the video, you can download the decks, the toolkits, and the variety of things that we utilize during this process will be in that folder. And like I said, each one of the teams will have a folder as well to submit your documents and your homework from week to week, because there is homework for a few weeks there at the very beginning with the problem, solution, and customer and value proposition. All right. One tool to help you do that is something we've created at Christian Brothers University, which is the Idea Discovery Canvas. You might have seen other versions of Canvas, like the Lean Canvas. And this is a basis for that. We utilize those a lot. Once I started teaching, moving from my, or don't want to admit, several decades of entrepreneurship into this kind of teaching space and this mentoring space, I wanted to take a new stab at the Lean Canvas to make a little bit more sense to the way that I teach this. So we added some things, and I think there's some things that are just new to the world that we should add into this space. What this tool allows you to do is have a simple one-page view of your entire business concept. So we started off like in the program details that we talked about around the problem and the customer and the solution. That's that first segmentation over there, but also going in the value propositions. Those are the benefits derived by the customer, your channel partners, because every one of your products is probably going to need people upstream and downstream. This also includes your marketing efforts, what your unfair advantages are, what your protections are, your known obstacles, cost, profit, and revenue, and then key metrics. And the one we've added to this is sustainability. We're hoping it's not a mandatory thing, but we always like to see at least companies thinking about sustainability, zero footprint type things in their operations or manufacturing or distribution, or their product actually is impactful amongst the 4 categories of sustainability as well. So we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about sustainability, but it is included in the Idea Discovery Canvas. And that's kind of a stretch bonus if you have something as part of your IP that does allow itself to lean towards sustainability offering, then that's even all the better. And try to say sustainability 5 times within 2 minutes and not mess up. That's a hard one. Okay, so then another couple of tools here is the value proposition canvas. Real quickly, real simply, there's 2 main things that are about value. That is alleviating pain and giving gains, right? So if a customer is in pain, that's a great way to alleviate their pain. That's a value proposition. That's a benefit that the customer is going to get. All the better if there's also a gain that goes with it. That's another value proposition that kind of seals the deal for the customer of wanting to utilize your product. So we'll go through the entire value proposition and process and use this canvas as a tool. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was our pitch template. Please don't judge it by its color. I try to make it kind of muted just so you understand that you can make it look any way you want. When you see our decks that we utilize during our program weeks, you'll see that there's a lot of flair and artistic value. And that's really what you need to focus on as a certain, I mean, when I say focus on, it's certainly not going to be focused on it more than the content, but it is something that allows you to have a presentation that people want to see, right? Easily consume it, punch through the presentation, make an impact. So this deck allows you to do that, and you can kind of shape it however artistically and stylistically that you want. We'll talk about that in some areas. That's pretty important. So just real quickly, the Idea Discovery Canvas, here it is again. It's a great way to do that because you'll notice that parts of this canvas are in each one of these sections that I'll go through. So we'll have problem, market and customer, solution, value propositions, competitive and unfair advantage, go-to-market strategies, business model, revenue model, progress, which is always great to tout how much progress you've made, even by being in the Scipreneur challenge and stuff like that. And then the ask, what are you going to be asking for? Because ultimately what we're all asking for is someone to believe in us enough and our product enough to invest. And then the team, a little bit about the team and who's advising you, a big thank you. And there's some other pro tips and some other information in this deck. So everyone will have access to this pitch template too. And that's what you'll create the final pitch with. And we'll help you with that and have a few weeks of practice related to that. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell of what the program entails. I didn't plan on going into any depth about entrepreneurship or anything this week, because that's really what we'll be doing over this program. I really encourage all of y'all that are here that came to this. I think this is fantastic. And if you have other colleagues that are either on the fence about this or they don't even know about it, and you can bring them into the know-how of this, hopefully what we've discussed with you is something that intrigues you enough to join us starting next week. We have a lot of fun. We try to keep it light, but also very impactful and very informative, very educational. Shelby, my colleague from the Christian Brothers University Center for Entrepreneurship, is also at your disposal during this process. She and I, amongst other people like Rohan and Ryan and Erica and other individuals that we'll bring on, even our guest speakers generally do an office hour session. We utilize those on Friday afternoons, and we have an open window for those, and it's kind of first come, first serve. You sign up for these, each little incremental spot, and then your team can pick our brains and we can talk about it. If you want to meet with Shelby at 1 o'clock and then meet with me at 1:20 and Rohan at 1:40, that's great. You can do that. And so there's not a limit on how many you can sign up, but each one of us will just spend 20 minutes with you on that day. And like I said, we'll also have our guest speakers, at least some of them that can accommodate the schedule, do office hours for that. So every week we'll meet on Thursday. We'll have office hours on Friday. Homework's generally due Wednesday morning, and I start hounding you for that because I want to be able to get it in so we can review it, so we can have a better understanding. We don't have long periods of time each one of these weeks. So I want to be able to review the homework before that next class so I can give you valuable feedback. And that's pretty much it. I don't think I'm leaving anything out, but I know my colleagues will help me if I have. So I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Hey, Brian, great presentation. I like the structure of the program. One question that I had, just in terms of like time to spend to be successful on, like winning the challenge, how much time do you think you'll, like on average, a student will spend doing your homework and trying to develop the whole thing?
Yeah, and I'm going to let Ryan and Rohan and Erica all talk about this too, because they've all gone through this. So I would estimate that beyond the 2 hours on a Thursday and potentially 1 hour for office hours, that if you have a team of 2 to 3 people, that shouldn't take you longer than an hour or two to do the homework. I mean, normally what we do in most of our programs is we'd actually put you out there and tell you have to go talk to 100 customers. Right? That's not what this program is about. This program is not about doing heavy lifting customer discovery, but we will ask you to go talk to individuals. So don't think you're off the hook in that regard, but it might be 10 as opposed to 100. So it really depends on how much that could take you. So, I mean, I would guesstimate anywhere from 4 to 6 or 7 hours a week on this, spread out over the 7 days.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, Rohan, Erica, do you have any that decent estimate?
Yeah, and I think when Brian says 6 to 7 hours, I mean, I think it's not a minimum requirement. That in my mind, it's almost like you're not only meeting the goals but exceeding them. You're almost the overachiever if you're doing 7 hours a week. I know some weeks it could be a lot less. It just depends on how well you grasp the material, what else you need to do, and how involved your teammates are as well. Because if you have a good team, it might not take you 7 hours to do some of these tasks. So I think it just varies from week to week, and it'll vary from person to person as well.
Yeah, I'd definitely say. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I would say 7 hours is definitely on the higher side. So when I went through this program, I think probably 2 hours and maybe like another couple of hours a week, and you could, especially, I mean, with a full team, I think you could get by with even less. It's just consistency. You just have to, consistently show up and pay attention and consistently, do the requirements. The requirements aren't, they're not long or complicated. You just have to be consistent on keeping track of things and making sure you're talking to people, making use of office hours. But I think if you're committed, I think it's a very reasonable time commitment, even if you have a full-time, which I'm sure everybody has a full-time job aside from this. So.
Yeah, I mean, the video component is new this year. That might take a little bit of extra time. When we get into the pitch side of things, creating the pitch and making it work and everything else, although we do have one more week this year than we did last year, so it should help with things. Yeah, I mean, 6 hours might be a worst case scenario. And it might be the extreme on the average. So the average might be more like 3 to include 3 or 4, including the classes and the office hours. Because we will use minute, from minute 1 to the minute end on each one of those classes. We won't end early, hardly ever, just because we have so much to cover. That's a fairly good estimate. What other questions we have?
I guess one question I have is, generally speaking, where is the IP coming from? Is it coming from universities, and is it staying stagnant, those IPs? Does anyone still own those and working on those, or is there a reason that we're choosing those IPs to work on?
Ryan?
Yeah, so traditionally, Memphis Scipreneur has come from all the institutions in the Memphis area, so St. Jude, UT, and University of Memphis. But since we have now joined all the different branches, we'll have IP from not only those 3 institutions, but also UT Knoxville and Oak Ridge National Labs. And to your question about whether or not these are stagnant, no, a lot of times they are some of the IPs that the institutions are like most aggressively trying to get out there, especially like St. Jude, where, they don't really have, or at least on the surface, they don't have this motivation to find for-profit ventures or fund for-profit ventures, which is what a lot of this is going to lead to. They try to give us technology where the PIs are very adamant about trying to find commercial opportunities for their technology.
Got it. Thanks.
I was going to see if maybe this is a good time for Rohan to kind of give us a little information about his experience last year, since you're the freshest from doing Scipreneur.
Yeah, and right before Rohan goes, one more thing. We will have, it looks like upwards of 8 IP or 8 different technologies this year. And next week, what everyone will hear about 5 to 10 minutes from each inventor or representative of the technology on what the technology is and its potential commercial applications. And then after you hear all these different basically pitches, you will rank which technology you most desire to start a company around. And then we'll try to match you with the technology along with a couple of teammates that also desire the same technology. So it's not going to be randomly given to you. You'll have a choice.
All right, Rohan.
Yeah, so as everybody said, I'm Rohan. So I am a part of the Patents and Products postdoctoral program here at the University of Memphis. And last year, I went through this the same Scipreneur challenge when it was just a Memphis only thing. And I thought the course and content was very interesting, very informative, and extremely helpful in taking real interesting IP that people have developed from a bunch of different institutions and being able to quickly take that and sort of move it through all the different stages of commercialization and kind of build out how you're going to design this business. And I thought the content was extremely relevant, but at the same time the time commitment was very reasonable, still being able to do my day job of doing research with my own project, but at the same time the invited speakers are very helpful. You get active engagement from everybody, and everybody who's working on the back end spends a lot of time being available for office hours, being available to design and develop this content. And I thought it was extremely useful for the kind of things that I want to do, because I come from a traditionally academic background, but I'm trying to move into more of an entrepreneurial space. And I thought that this program is a perfect short 8 to 10 weeks, and you just get yourself immersed in this thing. Even if you're just spending a couple hours a week, you still feel like you're actively engaged with this technology. And I think it's extremely helpful if you guys are interested in sort of moving to that or like having some sort of focus in that area. I think it's extremely helpful. And yeah, please, obviously, I'm also always available for questions as well, either right now or offline as well. Just let me know.
Questions?
I have a question. Is when you're choosing IP, is it important to choose IP that you have a background in, or how would you say is the best strategy for that?
I mean, I would say, as far as my experience, I chose IP that was very different from a background that I'm familiar with, and I thought it was really interesting because it's something I was very unfamiliar with. I was working on something called it's called a tummy time mat. So it's a little device that helps babies in their developmental issues. And my background's in physics, so it was a very different experience for me. But I thought getting to work with something very different at the same time was very interesting because you learn about a new space, you talk to different people, you still learn. It's still got the same fundamental ideas of there is some intellectual property associated with it. There's some research background to it, but at the same time, you're looking at seeing, what's the market for this space? What are the commercialization opportunities? What do stakeholders care about? What do people who are trying to invest in this care about? All the same sort of basic ideas are still the same. And, there's a lot of, no matter what field there's a lot of interesting things, whether you're actively working on that or it's something just completely out of left field. So I'd say just pick something that you want to work on, you find interesting, whether or not it's something you're familiar with, it does not really matter so much. You can get yourself familiar with the market. It's just a matter of whether you're interested in doing that.
Yeah, Rohan, I think you summed it up perfectly. I mean, that's exactly what I would have said. Just pick something that excites you regardless of your background, something that you're willing to, devote time and energy to over the next 8 to 10 weeks and possibly more. So thank you.
Anyone
I
else?
would say too,
Okay.
as someone who's not ever participated in Scipreneur, I've gotten most of the experience as a participant through Ryan and Rohan. I'm coming more from the side of planning, but I would say, number one, we want you to have fun. Like this should be a fun experience where you're learning in a very low, anxiety environment, how to really, what are the building blocks, the fundamentals of taking a technology to commercialization. And we just, I can't stress that enough because we're all, maybe it doesn't seem like it right now, but I'm very laid back. And I want you guys to feel comfortable with like reaching out to us outside of, the weekly sessions that we have. If you have questions about anything, because even though I've never gone through, the Scipreneur Challenge, I am one of the Patents to Product Fellows as well. And so in real life, we're going through this process with our own actual technology and companies. And so we want you guys to use us as a resource for what you're doing through this program and beyond that as well, especially for those who really are interested in maybe pursuing a company in the future. So definitely take this as a very stress-free learning, fun time to learn how to do these things for sure.
No, absolutely agree with that, Erica. And just to follow up, yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. Just think of this as like a testing ground. It's a very stress-free environment. It's just low-key. You're taking an intellectual property, a real interesting intellectual property, and you're sort of figuring it out. How would I go about doing this? And you get to try it out on something actually interesting. You get to develop it out. And at the same time, you can take that back to whatever you're working on. Maybe you're working on something interesting in your lab or in your university or whatever, and you're like, oh, I think, maybe there's an opportunity for commercialization. Maybe, a year down the road or like 5 years down the road, I want to take this and try to take it to market. And you can use all the same skills that you will learn throughout this course and do that. Or maybe you don't want to, you just want to take those skills and, apply it to something completely different. I mean, it's just up to you, but I think it teaches you a good set of skills and it's a good opportunity. And I mean, it's also pretty fun. You get to interact with different people a different sort of space than you're probably familiar with. And I think that part's pretty useful and fun as well.
Anyone else? Okay, so Abby Trotter, who's also from Biotin and our leader over there, would like to, and I think it's a great idea, would like to get a picture of all of us, a screenshot. So if everyone could just go ahead and turn on those videos, try to entice you just with my thanks earlier. That didn't work for half of y'all, but.
See it. Come on.
Jennifer, Steph, there we go.
Come on, Connie.
Yeah, St. Connie, you especially. You're part
Tell
of
us
one
when
of
to
the
smile.
There we go. Jennifer, Steph, and Kanisha, are y'all there?
Yay.
Stuff. Jennifer, Kanisha, just hold down on y'all too. Might have walked away.
Come on.
Ah,
Yeah. All right.
almost. One more.
All right, everybody.
There we go.
Take a quick shot. Everybody smile. Okay, good. Excited about this. Please spread the word, and great job, Brian, Erica, Rohan, Ryan, everybody. So thanks for
Thank you all.
doing this.
All right, Ryan, you want to close this out?
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, thank everybody for joining us today. If you have any additional questions or comments or anything that you did not ask here or you might come up with over the next couple of days, feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're always available. Really, the program is going to start next Thursday. It's going to be a little bit longer than normal. It's 2 hours, but that's when we're going to hear from all the different inventors and their technologies. And then please, spread the word. If you know of any friends, colleagues, anybody that would like to participate, let them know. I mean, this program can be as big as we want it to be. So again, thank you so much and look forward to having you join the program.
Yeah, just last note, Erica just dropped in some links into the comment section or our chat section for the email address and the website. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing everyone next Thursday, plus even more. Spread the word, please.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.